So we should see recording up the top left on all of us there now.
Yeah.
Lovely job. Brilliant. Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
No problem. Thanks for asking me.
You're very welcome. So I noticed from your Instagram, you're working obviously with creators, which is a lot we'll talk about today as well. But I saw that's owned by Independent News and Media, and you're a writer with them as well, are you?
Yes, a bit of a jack of all trades.
Fair play.
The writing that I do is native content writing, so it'd be all sponsored content by brands. So I'm not like an investigative journalist or anything, but yeah, I'd write a lot of like branded content.
That's very interesting though, because you do see a lot of brands going that route where rather than, let's call it a direct in your face ad, they're using native content, sponsored content within news organizations or within digital platforms to promote their products and services.
I mean, it makes sense because the readers are already there, they're looking for content. And a lot of the brands would sponsor their articles to feature on the likes of the homepage. So the homepage of Independent.ie, which gets millions of viewers every week. So yeah, I mean, if I was a brand, I would definitely be investing in sponsored content.
Yeah, brilliant. And how did you get started with?
I was just about to say, I jumped right into stuff. We should tell us a bit about yourself and how you got started.
Sure. So with the sponsored content or just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah, with creators and your career in general, yeah.
Okay. So I'm working with I&M for nearly 7 years. It'll be 7 years in February, and it's gone so fast. I started off as a sales rep, and I moved across then into digital ad ops. So I would look after, I still do that. So that's like 50% of my job at the minute is basically trafficking any of the run a site ad campaigns on the likes of Independent.ie or any of our sort of websites. And then I started kind of blogging myself about 4 years ago, and I was doing a lot of traveling and a lot of writing, and a colleague of mine was sort of reading the blog and he said, do you want to write an article for us? We have something coming up like that, a sponsored native piece. And I said, okay. Yeah. So I wrote my first article, I think about 3 years ago, and I just got the bug for it. So I decided, right, I'm going to go and do a course. And I did a diploma in journalism. And yeah, I just kept blogging, kept writing, articles started coming up more and more. And then Creators launched in 2017, which is basically our influencer marketing platform. So we have a community of over 200 bloggers, and we basically publish their content on our website, and we also partner them with brands. So that came up in 2017. I joined that myself as a blogger, and then I started looking after their Instagram account. And then when the product manager / developer moved on to something else, I sort of slipped into her shoes and started taking over the platform. Sort of casually in the beginning, it was just kind of, we were in a bit of a transition period with Creators and was figuring out what it was all about. And yeah, it's just been a crazy, what's the word? It's just evolved so much over the last couple of years to where it is now.
Yeah, because it's a really unique idea. So like, where did the whole idea of Creators come from in the first place?
So it came from our innovation team. So at the time we had a group of people, and they were responsible for the likes of coming up with new product ideas and sort of developing existing products. And they very cleverly saw a gap in the market. Yeah. So obviously, like I&M they have traditional media down, like obviously there's a strong, rich history there. And then now social is so huge. Social media is massive, and obviously bloggers and content creators are creating content just like our journalists are creating content. So it's to kind of bridge the gap between those two worlds. And that's how it all came about. And originally it was sort of open to like all creatives. It was sort of a bigger vision, and it just kind of funneled down into content creators now.
Brilliant,
So yeah, that's sort of how it all began.
So how would brands get started, with like approaching a content creator on your platform?
So generally how it works is we get a brief in, so either from a brand directly or from their advertising agency or their PR agency. So if they have a campaign coming up, they would send us a brief and they kind of let us know like about the product, the campaign, who they want to target, the sort of people they're after, the like everything that they could possibly let us know about the campaign. We ask to just tell us everything, so that we can go and build a proposal around it. And if Creators feels like a natural fit, which it doesn't always, like we don't put Creators forward for everything. Do you know what I mean? If it's not right, we don't put it forward. But if it is right, then it lands on my desk, and myself and the sales rep would work together to figure out exactly what we want to pitch for them. So it could be working with several macro influencers and a couple of micro influencers, doing maybe video if their client really feels like video would be a good opportunity, or if we feel like video would be great for the campaign, we would say, well, maybe they should do like some sponsored IGTV videos, some stories, grid posts. Like it really depends on, every single brief is different. So we don't really have one size fits all that we send back to everyone. It's always kind of built around the brand and around the brief. So once we've done that, then I would kind of go out to my own little black book, which would be like the community that we have. So there's over 200 people, content creators officially signed up to Creators. So they're always my first port of call if I am putting a pitch together. So I would look at the community and say, okay, who fits this brief? And I would pull some certain people out of it depending on the different sort of skills that they have, the kind of content that they create, their following, their engagement rate. And then if I feel like we need more people, I'll do like a casting call on the likes of Instagram or Facebook, just saying, okay, we have this campaign. We're looking for bloggers who are interested in this topic. If you're authentically interested and this is something that you talk about regularly or you feel fits you, let us know. So then I would go and look at their profiles, look at their blogs, check out their engagement rates, like just make sure that everything it really fits. And then some of those people can be included. And then if we need more, we would go and look at the likes of the influencer agencies. So who's on their books and sort of see if we can include some of their guys. So we're very much open to sort of everybody that's available. We just want to make sure that we put the best people forward for any of the brand collaborations.
That's very cool. And how do you deal, we'll say, with where a brand might have certain expectations and want their content used maybe in a certain way, but that might not match an influencer's particular style. And obviously you want to let the influencer kind of, do their thing because they know their audience. How do you balance that? Or has there been any kind of interesting incidents arise with stuff like that?
I think from the get-go, we always would say to them, like, please let the content creator do their thing, because you know yourself, you can always tell if somebody has had words put in their mouth. And we want these campaigns to work as brilliantly as possible. So we're always going to push for the best kind of authentically created content. So just as much as we wouldn't put somebody forward that we don't think is relevant, we would also ask the brand to kind of respect what they do, what they're really naturally good at.
Cool.
And obviously we want to give the creators a nice brief and like give them some direction, but we would always say just if we can let them do it as authentically as possible. Like authenticity is probably my most used word when it comes to this stuff, because it's just so important. But like I've never had any major pushbacks from any of the brands. Like they kind of understand that, okay, these creators understand their own audience and they know what works. So unless they got something massively wrong, like a date or something, they generally wouldn't say, okay, we want that changed. They're happy enough to go with what the creators naturally produce for them.
Yeah, very good. And do you need, like as a creator, do you have to have an Instagram page? Do you have to have a website to be one of your creators?
No, not at all. Like for us, we're open to anybody joining our community once they're creating quality content. So whether that's on YouTube or on their blog or on Instagram or Facebook, we understand that not everybody's going to be able to do everything. I mean, we're all only human. And I know they do say like, oh, you should have a presence on every platform, but that's so hard. Like it takes so much time. Like to build an audience on even one platform is so difficult. So we know it's not possible for everybody to have everything. I think again, we understand that there's lots of people who are starting out. So if someone wants to join the community and they're just starting, that's fine. We'd never turn anybody away once they're creating something. We're not the authority on that. Like But when it comes to publishing content, if a creator joins the community and doesn't have a blog, we couldn't publish them on the website because obviously they're not creating that kind of content. And then we do have kind of some like editorial guidelines around what we would actually publish, because there's so much content coming through to us, we can't publish everything. So we have to kind of, we want to like encourage people to create the best kind of content possible. So we would say, you know, you're more likely to be published if you've got a really great headline, if your grammar is perfect all the way through your blog post, if you've got really strong imagery, if it's relevant, obviously if it's brand safe. So, you know, yourselves, marketing generally has to be very brand safe. So yeah, we have got guidelines, but anybody can be part of the community if they're a content creator.
Brilliant. And so there's no like limitation. So you have like 200 people, but say loads of them now were like, say fashion orientated. Would you say, okay, we have enough fashion people now, we need to get more in this, or would you just keep taking the fashion people anyway?
No, like that. I think the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Because we're always getting briefs in as well, and we don't want to be always going back to the agencies or the brands with the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
So if we have more variety, it's good for us. It's good for the brands. It's good that, you know, and everybody does stuff differently. So one fashion blogger could be amazing at creating video, and another could be amazing at photography, and maybe the brand just wants video. So like, it's good to have as many people as possible. You know, that's what the whole community is about as well, is that everyone's sort of learning off each other. Everyone's in it together. I know it's very, it sounds a bit hippy dippy, but it is.
No, it's brilliant.
Is there any particular industry or niche in the influencer side of things you see growing an awful lot actually?
I would say from a brand perspective, like the kind of industries that want to work with content creators, parenting blogs are really of interest to brands. Food, obviously, foodie bloggers are of a lot of interest. For us, actually, we don't find that many brands looking for fashion bloggers, which is a shame because they often do create like the most creative content. But I guess we kind of focus on what the Indo is really strong at as well. Do you know? So we have really strong magazines that are focused on food and the likes of the family, home and garden, all that sort of stuff. So those sort of sectors are very interested in those kind of bloggers because they align quite naturally with them and it fits in with the overall I&M family. So yeah, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It's interesting because you do see these, you know, trends evolve over time. Like we've seen the last few years, like travel has obviously been a massive growth area in terms of the influencer space. Obviously, COVID,
not this year.
but it is very interesting to see kind of the trends in the influencer space where you know all of a sudden there's so many influencers in one particular sector, and then in a couple of years change and another sector seems to be dominated. I think that changes with the whatever's popular at the time as well. So like you see
exactly
and TikTok as well then changes it completely again because all of a sudden there's a whole new brand or a whole new audience of influencers out there.
So absolutely.
It's a very interesting space that's constantly evolving.
I know, but that's what makes it kind of fun, I think.
Exactly,
But it's
do you have any TikTok creators in your creators pool?
I mean, I feel like they all have a TikTok. We don't have anyone that's like a standout, anyone official. We do work with people who are not necessarily signed up to the platform officially. So if a brand came to us and said, we really want to reach that audience that's on TikTok, we would definitely have access to them. They just might not necessarily be on our site yet.
Yeah. Okay. And so what's the difference between, you know, being able to contact them and being officially on your site? Is there certain rules for the people on your site that they can't work with other people, or how does that work?
No, not at all. No, actually, that's something that we should probably say more loudly and more often. No, signing up to creators doesn't stop you from working with any other publisher. Doesn't stop you from signing with an agency or working with any brands. It just means that basically they're top of mind when it comes to us pitching to brands. And it means that we can link their blogs to our website so that when they publish, anytime one of our bloggers publishes on their own blog, we get it through to our back, sort of the back end of our site. and we can then push it onto the homepage of our site. So it kind of, like, and again, it just comes through as like a thumbnail. So we drive the traffic then back to their blog. It's not that we're taking the eyes off their website. It's just literally a traffic driver. So obviously for us, it's great having such a big community, because it means that we've all these amazing content creators that we can put in front of brands, and it really helps our sales team. So obviously then we want to give back to the creators, and our way of doing that is by publishing their content. Obviously, because it's associated with such a great brand like the likes of I&M, I do think that that has some weight, and like some of the guys even have the creators logo on their website and all that. So we try and give them as much value as they're giving us. And the same with like social and shout outs and things like that. We're just trying as much as possible to give as much as we take from the community.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So Rachel, if you were a small, medium business and we say you're the local target market, what kind of advice would you have for a small business? I suppose one, in how to find maybe local influencers to work with, and two, on how they should work with them.
So, I mean, I feel like Instagram is probably the biggest platform for influencer collaborations at the minute. So I would go into Instagram, I would search by location or by location hashtags. So if you're so I'm based in Laois, so I would go in and I'd look at the Laois hashtag, Port Laois hashtag, Abbeyleix, like any of the places around Laois, and I would see who's tagging to those places. And you can clearly always tell a content creator from just a regular Joe, I think. Even by the filters and stuff, they always stand out compared to the other posts under certain locations. So I would find someone that you like, check their content. I would check things like their engagement rate. So even if you just Google, I can't remember the name of the site that I use, but if you Google like content creator engagement rates, there's loads of tools, and you just put in the influencer's username and you can figure out what their engagement rate is. Typically you're talking anywhere between 2 and 3% is like standard. If you find someone and their engagement rate is lower than that, don't know if you're going to get the best sort of comeback on your investment. Micro influencers tend to have a higher engagement rate. So some of our guys have like 7, 8, 9% engagement rate. So I would kind of weigh up doing a mix of sort of bigger bloggers who have a bigger following, and then also investing in some of the micro bloggers as well, because their followers they're much more invested personally, I think, because you're chatting in the DMs, and they feel almost like friends. So that's something as a brand I would definitely be putting some value on, even though they may not have the 50,000 followers. You know, smaller guys have a really strong relationship with their audience. So I would definitely don't rule out someone who has a smaller audience. And then, you can just contact them directly. I would be kind of upfront about what you want. So if you want somebody to give you a shout out on their story, I would ask for it. If you don't ask, you don't get. Like, rather than just saying, oh, we want to send you something and hope for the best, like I would treat it as a professional interaction. Like, a lot of content creators are used to this now. So if someone contacts you and says they want to work together, like you're dealing with someone almost like a business. So I would treat it as professionally as possible as well.
Yeah. And how much would you say you'd be paying for different types of content? So like, say in IGTV, can you give us like ballparks or like story shout outs? Like what would that ballpark be for people?
It really varies so much. Like literally every campaign I have to go. And so say if we get to the point where the brand says, okay, we want to do this creators work, we want to work with these bloggers, then I would go to the individuals and see how much they're charging. And if it's way over what I would consider the norm, we'd try and have a little negotiation. But oh God, it's such a hard question to answer because it really varies. Like, I know some people would be asking for like over €100 per story, and that's for like your 1 10-second, 15-second clip. And like, I got a quote before for an IGT video from a really big influencer, and it was 5,000. And then another person would do it for 500. So it really depends on how many followers they have, how professional they are, like as in, is this their full-time job or is it a hobby? Are they doing this for their living? Have they ever done it before? Like, there's loads of different things that come into play. And I would say also different things have different values. So like a video takes a really long time to, I'm sure you guys know yourself, to edit and shoot and everything. So you would be paying somebody more for a video than just a Instagram shout out.
Yeah, I had a really weird experience about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, is this normal? So basically, I work with a small jewelers, and we were looking for an influencer. Now this influencer has a lot of followers, over 150, I think, but we had a contact that knew her, so we asked, could we get like a post? So one post was 25,000 euro, and I was like, is this normal? So obviously we didn't do it, clearly.
25,000 or 2,500?
No, 25,000 for one Instagram post.
Yeah. Nice.
But there was a layer of it saying like this person wants to work with a brand, throughout the year and doesn't want to do these one-off posts. So we're thinking maybe it's a higher price because she's trying to deter people from just making her do one post, and looking inauthentic, basically.
But I think that's probably definitely a factor. And I think a lot of people they like to partner with people and they like to have ongoing relationships with people. And coming back to that word again, Rachel, it does make it more authentic.
Yeah, definitely. That's shocking though.
Yeah.
Sell a lot of jewelry to see the value in that.
Yeah, you would.
That does happen though. I do think it is a little bit hush hush. Like people don't come straight out and say, this is what I charge. It's very, I don't know, people are funny. Maybe it's an Irish thing about talking about money and stuff. It can be weird to know exactly.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering, did you have ballparks so people know, even just a range to stay within and not to go outside, obviously up to 25,000 euro.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's ever gets a quote and they want to get a second opinion, definitely shoot me a message on Instagram or an email or whatever. But unfortunately, there is no a la carte menu.
Yes.
For influencer marketing, it's very varied. I wish there was. It would definitely make my job a lot easier.
Yeah, just standard. This is a story. This is a.
Yeah. No, I mean it's and I don't think there ever could be, because every influencer is so different. They're going to have different engagement rates. They're going to have different relationships with all their followers. So I don't think there's any way you could. One method I have seen that I quite like is where you're using an affiliate link or a coupon code or something like that, so you can there's some form of measurement there in terms of the results of the campaign. But again, you can't just focus on that, because this person is also building your brand and getting you so much more reach. So if you're only looking at direct sales from that one post, then you're really only looking at a small picture of everything they're doing for you, I feel.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think influencer marketing is very much around brand awareness a lot of the time. Yeah. Obviously, there's certain types of posts and things will sell out, like clothes or makeup and stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to reporting, we would always ask our creators for screenshots at the end of any campaign. So we send everything back to the brand, so they know exactly how many people tapped on their username, or how many people actually viewed the stories, so that it's really transparent and it's not just they put up the post and that's the end of it. We try and treat it like we would say a run a site digital campaign and give them a proper report afterwards. It's really important, I think, to be transparent, even from the content creator side, because if you want that brand to work with you again in the future, you kind of need to prove to them that it was worth it, even though they may not have gotten, like you said, the sales from the link or whatever of that one post. It's still gotten so many eyeballs on their brand that may not have seen them before now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Rachel, if somebody's listening and they're kind of playing around in the content creation space themselves, no matter what niche or industry it's in, what kind of advice would you have for them?
I would just say, starting out, to focus on creating the best kind of content that you can and really working on your skills. So whether that's photography or videography or writing, just to really put as much time and energy into that, as opposed to getting super caught up in the numbers and the followers. I think a lot of people starting out are like, okay, I really want to get to 10,000 followers on Instagram in the first year. And then when that doesn't happen for 90% of the people, they lose their momentum and they sort of give up. And I think you want to not focus so much on that. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for, keeping your content fresh if all you're thinking about is what can I do to get more numbers. It's not about the numbers starting out. If you're doing it for that reason, it's probably not the right reason to get into it. I think just focus on what you're really passionate about. Keep creating, keep building your community, like always reply to the people who get in touch with you, and just build something that's really personal to you, because that's what people kind of buy into and believe in at the end of the day, is if you're being really true to yourself and you're if your passion, I think, shines through, that's sort of the most important thing over the numbers.
I think passion is actually the key, because that's what will keep you going through. If you're not getting followers, if people aren't engaging with your content, but you actually love what you're doing and you love what you're creating, then it doesn't matter. Eventually, hopefully someday that will come as well. But if you actually love what you're creating, you love what you're doing, then you're already winning.
Yeah, exactly. And then sure, if the other stuff come, it's just like a bonus,
Bonus, yeah. So true. So how would people sign up to Creators.ie?
So they can just send us an email or a message on Instagram. So we're at Creators.ie on Instagram, or an email, just hello@Creators.ie. So if they just get in touch and say they're interested in joining the community, and maybe send us a link to their social profiles and their blog, and we can then send them on the sort of sign up process and hopefully get them on board.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Rachel.
Thanks, guys. That was great.
Actually, if you would, do you want to let people know, actually, if they want to find out more about yourself or about Creators, where they should head to?
Yeah, sure. So I'm RachelVictoria.ie on Instagram, and Creators is just www.creators.ie.
Brilliant altogether. Thanks so much, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. If you haven't subscribed yet, please search the Digital Marketing Scoop at any of your favorite podcast platforms and subscribe. And if you'd like to follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram, just search for Click Media and Marketing. That's CLIQ Media and Marketing, and we'd love for you to follow us.